in for his $18.7 million deal for this coming season. But so far, it seems there's little to no market for D'Lo. So, Rick, do you see the Lakers finding any way to get any better by the start of the season?
Skip, I don't see any way for them to get better by the start of the season, and I don't really see a way for them to get better by the end of the season. I believe that they are in the same boat that they were in last year, and maybe worse with the loss of Taurean Prince and the idea that we're going to have both Anthony Davis and LeBron James play 70-plus games. I see them being in the same position that they were last year, which is fighting their way into the playoffs and hoping to make a round, to win a round. There's no reason to believe otherwise at this point. J.J. Redick, as an unproven coach, from everything that I've heard about how Darvin and Ham approach things, will J.J. be a little more buttoned up? Could they make some incremental gains there? Okay, I'll allow you that. But beyond that, the talent is simply not there. And the biggest issue that they have is that it's expensive talent. This is a top 5 team when it comes to salary. And the only way you're going to flip a D'Angelo Russell, if you're going to, the suggestion that they're going to trade him and add a more significant piece, the only way you do that for like a Jeremy Grant or a Zach LaVine or even a Jordan Poole, if you believe that those are bigger and better talents, is if the Lakers are willing to take on more money and put themselves in a more difficult position salary cap-wise going forward. And it's not just that they're cash poor, because Steve Ballmer and the Los Angeles Clippers are up against the same thing. It's the fact that once you get to a certain point in salaries, your ability to sign mid-level exception players and superstars that are waived, and some of the players that the Lakers have been able to pick up over the last few years because of the Lakers and they're in LA, those opportunities and the ability to do that are taken away by the salary cap rules. So they're just stuck. And the idea that they're somehow going to turn water into wine is just not realistic at this point. It's no more realistic this year than it was last year.
Keyshawn.
So in other words, Rick's saying I should just climb into my casket and close it and go ahead and have them lower me into the crowd and throw the dirt on me in the Lakers.
I think there will be some drama. I think there will be reasons to watch the Lakers, but it won't necessarily be because of what they're doing on the court.
Well, look, it seems like they obviously keep trying to ship off D'Lo, and no takers are willing to take that $18 million salary in his subpar, inconsistent play. However, we're still in a space where they can still potentially do some things, move some things around. You got to remember, too, Gabe Vincent didn't really play for us last year. Who else was it, though, Skip? It was
Jared Vanderbilt.
Jared Vanderbilt.
Christian Wood.
So
Cam Reddish.
And Cam Reddish. Yeah. They brought those guys in with the hopes of them being healthy and contributing. They didn't get the opportunity to really stay fully healthy, nor contribute at the level that they probably hoped that they would. I would argue that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA. When you got 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA, you got a chance. Now it's up to everybody else around them to contribute, to add something to it, okay? If you go back and you look at a few of those games late in the year where D'Lo all of a sudden come out, he might give you 40, but then he come out and give you 2. That inconsistency is what hurt the team. It's more about the consistency. Can we find 1 or 2 players that gives us a consistency? On a consistent basis, is Zach LaVine that guy? Is all of a sudden figure out how to manipulate the salary cap to get a Trae Young and bring him in? Is that what you're looking for on a consistent basis? Because if you got the consistency from D'Angelo Russell in some of those monster games that he had, and maybe not even the 40-point game, just give me a consistent 20, give me a consistent 18. If you gave me that, what would the Lakers be with those other guys added to the piece of the puzzle? And we need another big. We got to get, I don't know where you find one at, but you got to get another big body, because the one guy that's our Achilles heel, or the two teams that could potentially have Achilles heels to us, is Minnesota and Denver. Those are who we're looking at. We're looking at them because we can't get past that. If we can get past that, I'm not worried about the other teams. I know Memphis is getting job back. I'm not worried about that.
Dallas? You're not worried about Dallas?
I mean, we blow on Luka.
Oklahoma City?
Oklahoma City?
Well, we not dominated, but we handled Oklahoma City pretty handily last year with our roster, Skip.
You did.
Okay, so
I'll give you that.
Dallas, on the other hand, we just got to figure out the whole Luka piece. He with us half the time anyway. I mean, that's just, he with us half the time anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so Rick, I'm going to amplify and underline a point that Keyshawn made. I'm watching this team, this Team USA, and I'm listening to our man Paul Pierce say that this team would dominate the Dream Team. And I'm looking at two of our top 5 players on this current Team USA are LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They're 2 of the top 5.
Yep.
And there are certain nights in the practice games where I thought Anthony Davis was the best player on the floor. And then there have been a couple of recent nights where I thought LeBron was the best player on the floor, and he well could win Olympic MVP. He looks like he's 39 going on 29. I said that the other day, and you pushed it all the way down to 27. So I'll give you 39 going on 27. And I expect pretty much more of the same from him next year because he looks in great condition. I'm knocking on wood for his health. But if you give any NBA team 2 of the top, let's say 10 players in the league, they got a shot, man, because it's only 5 can play at once. And if those 2 can stay relatively healthy, as they did last year for the first time in a long time, well, then what's not to like? Maybe not love, but what's not to like? Because if then you surround them, if you're still stuck with D'Lo on any given night, I saw him without those 2 guys playing go for 44 against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Okay, so offensively, he's way up there. I like Austin Reeves. Sometimes Keyshawn's in and out on him, but I like him a lot. And Rui, I've been watching him play for Japan in the Olympics, and he'd been giving people some big work. He got thrown out of the game the other night with his second unsportsmanlike, but he was making shot after shot. And then if all those 4 guys that we mentioned stay healthy, they were all nice pickups. Gabe Vincent would have fit perfectly, and I like Christian Wood, I like Cam Reddish, and I really like Jared Vanderbilt's perimeter defense. Well, if you could get them healthy for 80-ish games, well, then I would say this team is pretty good. And if you add Dalton Connect, I think he'll help this team. I think he'll come in spurts and make some shots for this team. And yet, the one thing I don't love is I think LeBron will make sure that Bronny gets some minutes here and there, and I'm not sure Bronny's ready to improve this team. I'm just not sure of that. So, again, respond to 2 of the top 5 players on our Olympic team.
Well, first of all, yes. And this has been the case last year was the same, which is if we were just taking a 20-minute segment of play, or games were only 25 minutes long, then LeBron and AD could have a huge impact. But NBA games are 48 minutes long, and because of the way the Lakers are constituted, they've both got to play 30, 35 minimum for the Lakers to have a chance to win. So in small spurts, both of them, and Anthony Davis last year overall, I thought he was tremendous. He was a defensive player of the year candidate. At one point, I thought about putting him at the top of my list. He was that good. And his offensive rebounding has gone next level. LeBron can still produce, can still be effective. Defensively, we have some issues. That's a story for another day. But you guys just took every piece that the Lakers have and said, if all those cast-offs for those other teams, the reason that Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood are Lakers and were available is because they've never been consistent. They've never been one of those players that can play a role on a consistent basis on a winning team. That's how the Lakers ended up getting them. And so the idea that suddenly they're going to be transformed into pieces that they can count on is defying what they've been over the course of their career. And this is what I love. I absolutely love about Laker Nation in general and Keyshawn in particular. It's like, if I can squint and look at it in a certain way, I can convince myself that this is going to turn out different this time around. And it's asking for way too many things to be perfect in order to be, what did Skip, what did you say? If all of those things happened, they could be pretty good. Not great, not the best. They could be pretty good. And when I look at the rest of the Western Conference, there's just so many teams that are young and upcoming, in many cases just entering their prime and hungry to do something. And the Lakers, it's just not where the, and look, it's through no fault of LeBron or AD or the Lakers. Teams just hit an expiration date. I'm seeing the exact same thing with the Golden State Warriors. I expect them to be in the exact same situation. We're going to have the Lakers and the Warriors battling it out, trying to scrape their way into the playoffs. That's not a negative. That's not trying to throw shade at LeBron or Steph Curry or any of these guys who have accomplished great things. It's just the reality of where they are and their respective teams are at this point in the course of the NBA.
I would say that the Golden State Warriors certainly don't have 2 top 10 NBA players on their team. No. They got Steph Curry, and they got Draymond in a certain role.
And I would say, I don't know that I can put LeBron and AD, if we're talking about playing 82 games and playing 30, 35 minutes a night, that I would still put both of them in the top 10.
They're
AD,
all NBA
I could make a
players.
case for.
Rick, you voted.
LeBron, French, but then you have all of, you have the weight that they have to carry.
But
Teams,
LeBron's been carrying that weight
where
since.
else?
LeBron's been carrying the weight since high
Who's
school.
the next best player on that team?
The
I
next best
understood,
player
but not
on
at
the team.
39. Not at
He looks
39.
like if
Who's
you-
the next
if
best
you-
player on that team?
Rick,
Austin
you
Reeves?
can't- Rick, if
Austin
you-
Reeves is the next best player on that
If
team.
you took
Yeah.
and you gave me just a blank canvas with no name on the back,
Yeah.
and you didn't know it was LeBron James, you'd say, oh, that's a supermax player. That's what you would say. You wouldn't be talking about, he's 39 years old. You wouldn't do that. No, you wouldn't. You would not do that.
We say that all the time. And yes, I
Because you
would.